Thank all of those in the room here today and acknowledge everyone watching via Council social media channels. I welcome the Mayor, acknowledge my Councillor Portfolio Lead, Councillor Bill Carl, all the other councillors, the CEO Brian Pidgeon, General Manager Stewart, all of the staff here in the room. And I'd like to start the meeting by acknowledging the traditional Aboriginal parties on whose songlines traverse these lands on which we meet today. The Western Waka Waka, Guyabal, Jarrawa peoples, and pay respects to their elders past, present and emerging, for they hold the knowledge, traditions, rich traditions, bold ambitions of Australia's First Peoples. So we don't have any apologies, although Councillor O'Shea is running late, so we won't record him as an apology, I don't think, and there's no leave of absence. So could I have someone move that we have suspension of standing orders, please? Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Shine. All those in favour? So we move to the first item, which is item number 4.
Madam Chair, if I may, I wish to declare a conflict of interest. Pursuant with Section 175E of the Local Government Act of 2009, I'd like to inform the meeting that I have a personal interest in this matter, which I recognise may be real or perceived conflict of interest, the particulars of which are as follows. My self-managed superannuation fund owns a freehold quarry which is leased and which could, under some circumstances, be a competitor to the subject quarry. I'll be dealing with this declared conflict of interest by leaving the meeting while this matter is discussed and voted on. And Madam Chair and Councillors, today is Skype day with various federal ministers, and I'll be quite busy and I'll be very doubtful if I'll return, so if you'll accept my apologies for that, but I will be leaving the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So we move to item 4, which is a development application for development permit for material change of use, impact, extractive industry, increase maximum extraction from 100,000 tonnes per calendar year to 500,000 tonnes per calendar year, located at Gents Road, Scrubby Mountain. And Nadia McLeod is going to take us through that. Thank you, Nadia.
If we could please get figures 1 up, please, Wendy. Thank you, Madam Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, the report before you outlines a development application for material change of use for an extractive industry. An increased maximum extraction from 100,000 tonnes per calendar year to 500,000 tonnes per calendar year at Lot 14, SP 277106, Gents Road, Scrubby Mountain. As you can see, figure 1 there shows our subject site, which is located within the rural zone, 100 hectare minimum precinct of the planning scheme, and has an area of 46.54 hectares. Can you hear me? Sorry. Yeah. Anyone okay? Yeah. If we could go to figure 2, please, Wendy. The subject site benefits from an existing development approval for material change of use for extractive industry, maximum extraction of 100,000 tonnes per year, and an associated environmental authority. As you can see on figure 2, that is our existing extractive industry there, and as I've mentioned, there is an existing approval over that site for a maximum amount per year of 100,000 tonnes per annum. The locality is rural in nature. However, as shown on figure 3, there are 7 sensitive receptors located within 1.1 kilometres of the site, with the closest receptor being receptor number 3, located to the south, approximately 330 metres from the extraction area.
Madam Chair, could you just point that out to me, please? Receptor.
Receptor number 3.
Thank you. And that's is that's to the
to the south.
To the south of the site. Thank you.
That's right. If we could go to figure 4A, please. The proposed material change of use comprises, briefly, an increase in the maximum annual extraction rate from 100,000 tonnes per calendar year up to 500,000 tonnes per calendar year. It is noted that an average extraction rate of 250 tonnes per calendar year is expected. There is no change to the extent of the extraction areas. As you can see on figure 4, on figure 4A, the black dotted line indicates the existing approved quarry boundary and extraction areas. In addition, there is proposed to be progressive rehabilitation of the completed and exhausted extraction pit sections. Hours of operation will be from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Saturday. Blasting activity will be 1 day in any calendar month. Crushing and screening, there will be a maximum of 12 employees on site. And there is also proposed to be ancillary fixed and semi-mobile buildings. And access to the site will occur from the existing site access to Scrubby Road. The primary haul route to and from the Gore Highway via Scrubby Road. The application was referred to the Department of State Development, Manufacturing, Infrastructure and Planning as a referral agency, now known as Queensland Treasury. A referral agency response was received on the 8th of June 2020 with conditions. The development application was also an application for environmentally relevant activities. An environmental authority for the activities was issued separately by the Department of Environment and Science on the 5th of June 2020. The application was required to be publicly notified, and this occurred between 11 June 2020 and 3 July 2020. There were 4 submissions received. 3 were supporting the development, and 1 was opposing the development. The submissions mainly relate to traffic and environmental impacts of the proposed development. The submissions have been considered in detail within the report, but I will address them briefly here. Regarding the traffic impacts of the development, the applicant submitted a traffic impact assessment with the development application. The traffic survey was undertaken of existing traffic conditions on Scrubby Road. The survey identified that Scrubby Road currently carries between 225 to 250 vehicles per day, of which 30% are heavy vehicles. With development traffic, this would increase to approximately 307 vehicles per day, of which approximately 50% will be heavy vehicles. Accordingly, the traffic impact assessment recommends that Scrubby Road be upgraded to a 2-lane standard, based on the increase in the vehicles per day and the nature of the vehicles. It's also noted that Scrubby Road is a school bus route. Conditions of development approval have been recommended requiring Scrubby Road be upgraded to a 2-lane standard with additional bus signage and minor works to the bus stopping areas required in conjunction with the required roadworks. Regarding the environmental impacts, the applicant submitted an air and noise impact assessments and a site-based management plan. All of these documents are recommended to be endorsed as part of any development approval. Carrying out of the use in accordance with these documents will minimize any potential environmental harm or nuisance caused by the use. The proposed development has been assessed with regard to the applicable assessment benchmarks. The proposed development complies with the strategic framework and generally complies with the relevant aspects of the zone and development codes, or it can be conditioned to comply. Relevant matters also support the approval of the proposed development. It is therefore recommended that the proposed development be approved subject to reasonable and relevant conditions. Thank you.
Councillors, questions? We're starting with Councillor Carol Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nadia, to you, do we have a breakup of the number of heavies coming from this facility on Scrubby Road, on the gravel road? Gravel part, not the part that's to be. Do we know, by the figures you've quoted,
Yes.
we're going to have an increase of 57 heavies, and there's already 30%, so that's 75 heavies there today. Do we know how many of those are in relation to this activity?
So the traffic impact assessment report that was submitted by the applicant indicates that with the increase in the production level of 500,000 tonnes per annum, there is an estimated 80 trucks per day, 40 in, 40 out, and this is based on the maximum production of 500,000 tonnes.
And do we know that there's none go down the other way? Are they all going out to the state-controlled road or federal road, or are there some going down the other way?
I don't believe so, Councillor Taylor. I believe that they are all heading towards Gore Highway.
This is an enormous increase, you know, that's five times 5 times the increase. The other thing I'd like to say, and I've been out on those roads quite regularly, the dust out there is really quite bad, and with no activity. There's just a couple of things I wanted. Am I continue?
Councillors Khalid, yeah.
The dust is really quite bad, and you know, with wind and the drought that we've had, the increase in activity at the quarry, including blasting, will exacerbate. It is a predominantly easterly wind, so the people who are living, you know, even to the south there, are likely to get extra dust. So that's something I'm concerned about. My fears aren't allayed there. And the other thing, I'm just concerned, we mentioned the school bus, and what was mentioned in one of the submitters' comments was that we would need to put something up there to stop the trucks from parking in line, waiting to get into the quarry. So that's not mentioned here, and if this should go ahead, I'd look. But then my understanding, just looking at this, is that where the school bus is not, if the trucks were all going back to the state-controlled road, I'm not sure that should be a conflict. So I'm not sure that there's not some trucks going down the other way.
All right, so to answer your first question, which is about the dust.
Yes.
An air quality assessment report was submitted. And
Nadia,
in
can I
that-
just get you to speak into the microphone
Sorry.
a little bit more?
So an air quality assessment was submitted, and it was indicated that the modelling that was done in that report, that the air emissions would be below the quality objectives. So I guess that answers part of your question. Secondly, there are conditions of approval that are being recommended relating to the hours of operation for the development, which would help to minimize the impact of the development. In addition, we are also recommending that with the any air complaints to do with air emissions, that an investigation be undertaken by the applicant. So that is a recommended condition of approval. In addition, you have the Environmental Authority, which basically outlines to the applicant what is required in terms of air emissions as well as blasting limits. So there are conditions within the Environmental Authority that limit what the applicant can do with regards to blasting, for example. To answer your second question, which is to do with the school bus routes, the report recommends, I'll just go to...
Graded and, yeah.
I'll just go to the conditions, the recommended conditions of approval. Please bear with me.
There was another question when I finished.
So there are 3 conditions. Condition 35, condition 36, condition 37. And these conditions are basically asking the applicant or requiring of the applicant to install signs. So condition 35 asks to install signs with the words bus stop or similar in advance of the school bus stops, northbound and southbound lanes. And these are located adjacent to 32 Scrubby Road and approximately 50 metres northbound and southbound of Scrubby Road and Morrison Road intersections. Condition 36 also requires road traffic signs with the words bus zone or similar to be installed at the bus stops northbound and southbound, located adjacent to 36 Scrubby Road. So it's considered that this will help to minimize any trucks stopping where these bus stop areas are located, particularly at the adjacent to or in front of 32 Scrubby Road. Condition 37 also asks for a road traffic sign with the words school bus route or similar to be installed adjacent to the northbound lane of Scrubby Road, approximately 50 metres north of the site access. So where the site access is on Scrubby Road, which is, there's the site access there. So all I'm saying is that for anyone that's traveling down towards Gore Highway, we are asking them to include that condition 37 is basically asking for an additional bus sign there to be put there, so that when the trucks exit and go down towards Gore Highway, they are aware that this is also a school bus route.
If I could just add to that, I think that you would need to put there, no parking, school buses accepted. There's certain signs around that you can and can't do. The other thing that I'd like to make, a point I'd like to ask, is why are we allowing blasting 6 days a week when we could ask for it to be contained Monday to Friday?
We are only asking for blasting to occur on one day in any calendar month, and so that's one day in any calendar month, and it's to occur between the hours of 7 a.m. to.
But why on Saturday? Because it's a weekend, when people are enjoying their time off. Why would we not condition it to be Monday to Friday?
Okay, it's a fair question, Councillor. As indicated previously, the air quality impact assessment report and as well as the noise impact assessment report have indicated that the increase in the extraction occurring at the quarry will have minimal impact with regards to the assessment criteria of the quality objectives, as well as with the assessment criteria for noise for noise impacts. Where there are slight exceedances with the noise impacts, it's between 1 to 2 decibels, and it's considered to be indiscernible.
We'll go to Councillor Carl.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Nadia, condition 30, page 6 of 38 in the board books, 11 of 507, and subsequently 31, 31.1, 2 and 3, it talks about 2-coat bitumen seal. You just didn't mention that. It's in the report there. I just want to confirm, definitely 2-coat bitumen seal, including the entry into the premises up to the Gore Highway. That's part of the conditioning.
Yes, that is recommended in that condition, as you have rightly pointed out, condition 30 and 31. And this condition is further supported by what's the recommendations within the traffic impact assessment report recommended with regards to the upgrade of Scrubby Road.
Yeah, and it talks about to engineering standards because obviously that's a standard process, I know, but it's an important one because once that road's constructed to that standard, it hits our register and we have to account for asset management of that asset. So it's important that it gets constructed properly.
I believe it will, Councillor. So the applicant will be required to provide, to lodge a development application for an operational work application. So that will basically cover the engineering standards.
Thank you, Nadia.
Councillor Shine.
Thanks, Chair. Is it correct that the approximate distance between the entrance and the Gore Highway is about 2 kilometres?
That's correct, Councillor Shine.
And at the moment there is some bitumen between the Gore Highway and the entrance, some bitumen?
Yes, so Scrubby Road is, at present, is a bitumen sealed road.
Oh, the whole lot of it?
Yes, sir, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Summerfield.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So I just wanted to talk about the rehabilitation. Is there a timeline on rehabilitation of the area that's already been mined?
I believe, Councillor Summerfield, that the Environmental Authority requires that rehabilitation be commenced as soon as practicably possible. So if I look at the Environmental Authority, Condition L2 recommends or requires the applicant that rehabilitation of disturbed areas must take place progressively as works are staged and new extraction areas are commenced. So, as I understand it, with this proposed development, there will be rehabilitation works. I understand that at present, I believe there are rehabilitation works going on the site, and that is something that will be covered by the Environmental Authority with the that lies with the approval for the 100,000 tonne per annum.
Just a quick follow-up, if I could. So it might seem a menial question, but 1 toilet for 12 people, is that quite suitable?
I believe it is, Councillor Summerfield. I understand that Mr. Bland is here, so maybe he could speak further to that, but I believe it is.
Councillor McMahon, did you have a question? No. Nadia, can I ask, with the noise report, the noise impact assessment, and it talks about part of the noise attenuation will be with the drill rig, and that it's to be located in a certain direction. That's part of the noise attenuation. I would imagine that those things move around, do they? Like
They earthen buns. So, Councillor O'Hara-Sullivan, are we talking about the earthen buns that are being proposed
no,
around?
the drill rig. To function effectively, the drill rig must be orientated to position the body of the drill
Right.
rig to the south in order to block line of sight between the noise source and receptor 3.
Yes.
Is it always in one spot, or I would have thought it had to move around, but it always has to stay in the same orientation, does it? I'm getting a nod.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so. And the site-based management plan recommends recommends these noise attenuation measures. So I would hope that when they are doing their operations on a daily basis, that they would adhere to those requirements for noise attenuation.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? Councillor McDonald?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thank you, Nadia. I'm just, given this is an existing use and it's happening at the moment, it's basically enlarging the space. How many of these conditions that are on here now actually already exist?
It's a good question, Councillor MacDonald. Off the top of my head, I would say that the conditions that we are recommending today are similar in nature to the existing ones. However, I think the difference is with regards to the maximum production rate, which is increasing from 100,000 tonne per calendar year to 500,000 tonne per calendar year. So the recommended conditions that we have at present will be covering that extra bit, so to speak.
Therefore, if I just have a follow-up, therefore the conditions around hours of operation, blasting, noise, air quality, all those sorts of things would be similar, if not the same, as what they're currently doing. So the major change is the change in regard to the surface, the road.
Yes, with regards to the service of the road, I think with regards as well to the attenuation measures that Councillor O'Hara-Sullivan had previously alluded to, those, I believe, are the differences to what was originally approved in 2012.
And those, I assume, sorry, Councillor O'Hara-Sullivan, if I could just follow up with that, those changes would be in line with the 2019 Act as well in regard to environmental air quality, noise and what have you. So they would change over time from that authority, I would assume anyway, would they not?
So if I'm understanding your question, you're saying that are you asking that with this proposed development, that it is in line with the relevant legislation of this time? Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Thank you. Nadia, I might just ask a question about one of the, what do you call them, the submitters talked about not being advertised in the Sentinel, and it was only advertised in the Chronicle. Is that sort of standard practice when there's a local paper? You just put it in the Chronicle, is that correct? Yeah, rather than the Sentinel, which I thought might have been, yeah.
Well, the Planning Act says it needs to be advertised within a local newspaper. The Chronicle is a local newspaper, so that would be in accordance with the planning.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Carol Taylor?
It's a good point you make, and I actually would argue with you that the Chronicle is not their local newspaper. And it actually, we've had this discussion in this room before. We have regional newspapers, and the Pittsworth Sentinel and the others are such, and it might be legal to do what we've done, but it's not, it doesn't pass the pub test. We should be advertising in their local newspaper, I believe.
I might just get Danielle to comment there.
Councillors, under the legislation, it's not a requirement that they advertise in the particular local paper for a particular locality. It's a newspaper that circulates generally within the area. and the Chronicle achieves that. We don't, as a council, have the ability to direct an applicant. We could suggest it, but we don't have the ability to direct an applicant to advertise in a particular publication, as long as it's something that's regarded as circulating locally, and the Chronicle certainly would be within our region, then that complies with the legislative requirements.
Thank you, Danielle. I understand that, and it's been mentioned here before, but surely the objective is to be able to allow the people who live around there to absolutely understand that what's there is increasing by 5 times the capacity. And I'm not saying whether it's right or it's wrong, but I think, and they're very cheap, the advertisements in our regional newspapers. So I'm very disappointed about that, and I think that those people have got a right to be upset about it.
Councillor McMahon?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Nadia. Just a quick question. I heard you say briefly that they've increased from 100,000 to 500,000, but it will be average of 200,000?
250.
Sure. So the higher 500,000 units of what they're taking out is unlikely to occur, or just at peak times, or?
I think that would depend on how the operations occur, and its demand. Yes, it's
also
demand.
the truck numbers, etc., were based on 500,000.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. So in reality, it's probably not going to be that high, is what we can assume from that.
I think it depends on the demand,
Yeah.
Councillor McMahon.
If they're able to, they can.
Okay, if there's no further, Councillor Von Hoff?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thank you, Nadia. Can you just show me one more time those conditions, I think that 36 it was, the bus stop on the map. Can you tell me and show me where that is in relation to the side entrance?
So the school bus route sign that is recommended in condition 37 is approximately 50 metres north of the site access. So the site access is over there.
Mm-hmm.
So 50 metres from there going north, going northbound.
And a supplementary. How much do we know about the times of those extra, depending on the amount, so anything from 50 to 75 trucks operating around school times, and those mornings and afternoons when children are most likely to be using those school bus routes?
Mr. Bland, I'll give you an opportunity to speak when we're finished here. Thank you.
I think to answer your question, Councillor, I believe that they would be operating throughout the day, depending on how the operation is occurring within the day and when they are taking product away and bringing and then coming back. So I think that would be the best way to. That's the best way to answer your question, and Mr. Bland might have more information about that.
Thanks, Nadia.
Thank you. If there's no further questions, the applicant, Mr. Phil Bland, is here, and I'll give you 5 minutes, Mr. Bland, to come up and talk to the councillors, if you would. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Well, my name is Phil Bland. I actually own Brookview Quarry. I bought it some years ago. Brookview Quarry site has been a source of quarry material since 1890. I have a map and everything I can leave with everybody. The quarry has been a supplier for various projects over the last few years and to council and the range crossing. Like, it's a good little quarry out there. It helps keep the prices down compared to the big fellas in that area, which I think if you look back with some of the prices that we can do it for out there and what council would be paying for a lot of the product out there, if we weren't there, it'd be a lot more. We have 50-odd staff total. I own Down Sand and Gravel, Superior Sand and Gravel there at Ball Street. There's 10 or 12 people working in there. We only have 9 working at the quarry to keep us under the number of to do with the SSE. But in total, this quarry, it revolves around keeping 50 families in going. And through all this virus, we have kept everybody on. I've received a draft condition from the council. All of the stuff, like all the conditions, they're nearly the same as what we've been under. Like, that's all fine. We have all that done. But when we get back to the conditions between 30 and 38, the council, where they want me to upgrade the road to 9 metres, 6 metres wide of bitumen. And what I'm saying is, and want me to pay 100% cost of that. The council, as you know, have a quarry just up from me. If I come out of my quarry, instead of going to the Gore Highway, it goes to your 100,000 tonne a year quarry, which is Grubby Mountain Quarry. And then all your traffic comes out this road too. So what I'm saying is, for me to cover 100% cost, I think it's too much. When I first opened this quarry up there, and I said to some councillors, I said, look, this road's a mess. How about, I worked it out, I said, it's going to take about 9,000 tonne of gravel. I said, I'll donate you 9,000 tonne of gravel, let's fix it. And it came back and they said, we can't do that because that has to go to tender. So that was just sort of laughable. So what I'm saying, because of the council, they've got their quarry up there, and this road's been a mess for years, I'm still prepared, like if the council would work in, let's get it fixed, I'm still prepared to give the gravel, all the gravel, which it'll take approximately 9,000 tonne and the pre-coat, and then if the council can come on board and help. The other thing, while I'm on this, if you look at the map of my place, where you go up Scrubby Mountain Road, where you just go over the hill, Scrubby Mountain Road is actually on my property.
Road off alignment.
That's over the alignment.
Called road off alignment.
Yep, and it's Scrubby Mountain Road is actually in my property now.
Yeah, but
So,
happens lots of times.
so if I went and put my posts on the corner and fenced my place off, you wouldn't get through Scrubby Mountain Road. And then where it goes back up to Jensen's Road, you wouldn't be able to go around that corner there. So, and at the noise, when we get back to the noise, about the drill rig, I had a complaint about the drill rig up there, and it was from that one particular bloke that from right down the bottom. And when we went and investigated, it was the neighbour's windmill. Anyway, that's just small stuff. But with the quarry, with our dust, we've had it said from the mines department that it is one of the neatest quarries that they've ever seen. And then anybody, I'll take you up there and show you. And we have, with the dust, constantly watering. We have dust monitoring and also have sprayers, all that sort of stuff. It's not just a thing on the side. And with the school bus run, I'll leave this with you so you can have a look at it. We have this big sign, school bus curfew hours we have. With no road trains at all that we allow on the road when the school bus is there. And with the times are all written down there, you can study it. All our trucks must only travel at 40 kilometres an hour on that road. Trucks and dogs are on there when the school bus is running, but no road trains. and all the trucks, when the school bus hours, they have to travel at 40 k's. And all loads must be tarped and all that stuff. So we run it properly. Like it's a really good run show. So I'm happy with all the all the complaints that people put in. I can deal with that because nothing's going to change with what we've been doing now. We cover all that, and our blasting, we probably only blast every 2 months. That's about all. So and we'd never ever blast Saturdays.
Oh, that's great.
Never.
Mr. Bland, I don't want to shuffle you along, but I've let you go a little bit over time. So have you got any other points?
Well, that's all I come to talk about is that road, is because all the rest is okay, but the road, I just don't see where I should have to foot the bill for the lot when the council have their quarry up the road. Like I say, I'm still prepared to like to give the gravel, which is 9,000 tonne of gravel, plus all the pre-coat, all the top seal. If the council can work in with me and do it, like it's going to help them too.
Good on you. Thank you. Now, is there any questions, Councillor Carl?
Probably more a comment, Madam Chair, but we're being asked to look at an application here with the conditions set out as states. Mr. Bland, if you have disputes about road alignments and...
I just can't hear you, mate. Sorry, right?
If you have disputes about road alignments and the extent of road upgrade, well, then that's part of the process further down the track, or otherwise we hold this over and don't make a decision today and it comes back.
No, I haven't got, I'm just saying is...
No, I'm just making a comment, Mr. Bland, that we're asked, being the conditions as part of this report, if there's discrepancies as part of the planning process, that it's for you to come back to the officers and discuss those matters, or if you're uncomfortable with that, then the council could decide to hold this over and make a decision at a future time.
I don't want to get into an argument. I'm happy enough to go with this, but I'm just letting you know that's a lot of people don't realise that's where the alignment is. And I'm not here to have an argument over it or whatever, but if at some stage we've got to do something to change it, or if the council want to leave the road where it is, if that makes it safe for everybody, I'm happy enough to cut that piece off, you know. So, and then all I want to do is try and get this road thing, but it's, you know, if you're going, if I went and just paid a contractor and got Wagners or someone to do that road, probably cost $1 million a k, and it's not in the business. It's just not there.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to make a comment. Roads off alignment is nothing unusual. There's lots of them everywhere. It's old surveys, they were tracks and other things, and that would need to work later on at some stage to work with Mr Brady and his team to have that change. It's not unique to this particular road. It's all over Australia. So, and you know, some of them can be rectified and some of them can't. I'd just also like to, and that way then you change the road reserve. They were put aside, you know, over 110 years ago. So some of them are on alignment and some of them aren't. But the other thing I'd like to make a point is that council has a quarry there, but it's not a commercial quarry. It's only a quarry that carts gravel for our own roads. So
no, but it's still licensed for 100,000 a year, and you do buy a lot out of my quarry. Up
to 100,000 a year, and we would only take it from there when we're working in the area. So that's how we work that. But I do tend to agree with Councillor Carl. If that's the condition, and if we're going to make a decision, it would be on those grounds. Otherwise, it's best to be left.
Councillor Carl, did you have a further comment?
Look, I think we should be making a decision about the application as it is put to us by the officers, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr General Manager, there's an opportunity for a negotiated decision notice down the track as part of this application, but it's not really, we're being asked to consider the application on its merits and the conditions put forward by the officers today. So I'd like to probably move ahead and make a decision about where we go with that, or make a decision about the application as is.
I think you're right, Councillor. Certainly it's open to Mr Bland to come and talk to our ISG General Manager or other officers. Probably I'd direct him to the General Manager in terms of discussions of that nature. But I think, you know, certainly Mr Bland raises a point of equity probably, but it's up to him to take up that discussion. I think the conditions are on the permit as they should be responsibly on the permit. In terms of who pays for what is a secondary question to that.
And we would have...
Councillor McMahon, did you have a question for?
General Manager Stewart's just answered it. I was just following on from Councillor Carls. There is a negotiation process further down the road that can be done through the General Manager of ISG. You're saying it happens that way?
Well, it would be extraordinary, but yes, there's always room for those sort of discussions in terms of shared space on the road. If in fact council cranks up, we've got a maximum, I think, of 100,000 tonnes there. I'm not sure what we actually take from it. We may not take anywhere near that.
No, we don't,
Look,
Stuart.
it's up to the GM of ISG and Mr Bland to maybe have a chinwag about that issue and what they might be able to come to.
No, thank you. Follow up, Chair, if I may. Is it within the right of this chamber to propose that we split costs on the road?
Very dangerous. I would recommend that we stick to the conditions that are there, and that's a basis from which Mr Bland can negotiate with ISG.
I'm mainly trying to get this lifted because, you know, if this inland rail comes, I don't want to be. I want to be covered.
Good, Mr Bland. Thank you. I'll get you to grab a seat again. Thank you. Yeah.
You're finished with me?
Yes, thank you very much.
Will I go?
If you like, yeah. Yeah, sure.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Okay, with that, can I have someone move that we reinstate standing orders, please? Councillor Summerfield, Councillor McDonald, all those in favour? Okay, so we have a recommendation there before you. Can I have someone move the officer's recommendation? Councillor Carl, Councillor Summerfield, all those in favour? Those against? Would you like your vote recorded? No. Okay. So with that, I will ask someone to move that we suspend standing orders to consider item number 6. Councillor Von Hoff, Councillor McMahon, all those in favour? Thank you. Now, we will record an apology for Councillor Mr Mayor. I think he indicated he wasn't going to come back, yeah? Okay. So, item number 6 is a material change of use, telecommunications facility, 820 Perseverance Dam Road, Crow's Nest. And we have, Matthew is going to take us through that. Thank you, Matthew. You're not Jeff Reid, are you?
No. Nope. Jeff's in the salubrious surrounds of the Gold Coast at the moment, so I'm presenting on his behalf.
Thank you.
Okay. This application, lodged by Precinct Urban Planning on behalf of Toowoomba Regional Council, is a development permit for a material change of use for telecommunications facility at 820 Perseverance Dam Road, Crow's Nest. It's for a 25-metre concrete monopole tower with associated communications equipment. The land is located in the Community Facility Zone, Government Precinct, and in accordance with the Toowoomba Regional Planning Scheme version 23, the proposed development is subject to code assessment. It's located within a complex utilised by Council's Parks and Recreational branch. There's a caretaker's accommodation, office and outbuildings. The Lake Perseverance Active Recreation Centre is located about 100 metres to the east of the site. If you want to just throw up a map there, we might be able to. I don't have a pointer, but you can see the property on which it's located and the Perseverance Dam Activity Centre to the east of that. That's right. I'll throw a pen at it sometime. The proposed facility will facilitate internal council communications, telephone and internet for council employees working at the office adjacent to the monopole. The telecommunications facility will also provide council with future ability to control pumps and water supply infrastructure at Perseverance Dam remotely from other offices within the Toowoomba City or parts of the region. The proposed monopole will be located to the south of the existing car parking area. See on the side plan there. And access to the facility will be via the existing crossover to the site and manoeuvring area within the car park. The development application didn't require any referral to any referral agencies, and the proposed development is considered to be generally achieve compliance with the acceptable assessment benchmarks, and where required can be conditions to ensure compliance. On this basis, the proposed development is recommended for approval, subject to conditions in the recommendation.
Thank you, Matthew. Questions? Councillor Carl.
It's a really simple one, and that is, it's not 5G, is it, Matthew?
I don't believe so, but I can't be definitive on that answer, to be honest.
Sorry, Councillor Carl, what was it? Not
5G.
Not 5G.
Oh, 5G, yeah.
Yeah. I can't be definitive on that, to be honest. I really don't have depth of knowledge in it. But all I know is that it's for telecommunication and radio communication purposes for the office up there. But that also doesn't mean that there won't be upgrades in the future with regards to the infrastructure that was mentioned in the report.
Yeah.
Councillor Summerfield.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So, Matt, I'm just wondering why, acknowledging this isn't your report, why the tower is being placed so close there. I know there's a statement in there saying it's, you know, it doesn't give off any bad things and everything. We've had a question here already about 5G. Why have they planned to place it so close to all those buildings? It's a large block of land. Why couldn't they put it out back of Whoop Whoop there somewhere so that it's not so close?
Well, I'm not intimate with the decision-making process of it. All I do know is that there was a report tabled with the application that looked at its compliance with the national standards for electromagnetic emissions, and it met those standards. But I'd suggest the location of it in that spot would probably be driven by a few things. Some of the infrastructure is actually going to be located within those buildings, so that's why they'd be close to the council buildings. It also minimises the clearing of vegetation in that location, because once you start moving away from the complex, then you're moving into vegetated areas. And with being in that complex area, they also gain the benefit of any bushfire works that we do to protect that office, that caretaker's residence and the ancillary buildings. There's also the easy access for maintenance coming through that car parking area too. And I'm not definitive on this one, but I assume there's actually some lines, sight lines for communication purposes. The further you get away from that high point down towards the dam, you're probably going to be lowering it down and not getting the height you need for your communications purposes. Can't be sure of that one, but I assume that's part of their decision about putting it up closer to the road there.
Any further questions for the officer? Mr. Councillor McMahon.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just, I couldn't see anything in the report about this block of land, how high above, I suppose, sea level or dam level it is. Is a 25-metre tower on top of a hill? Probably, in my thinking, a different story to a 25-metre tower on level. Like, what I'm just looking at visibility on the countryside of this and how high that area sticks up. 25-metre.
Look, it is higher than the surrounding areas. You can see the bottom of the dam down there, so obviously that heads down towards that. So I would have thought it is a reasonably elevated position. I couldn't give you a definitive Australian height datum on where it is. The only thing with it is that area out there is relatively unpopulated. You'll get a bit of a tourist activity through it, but a lot of the land out there is owned by council or state with regards to catchment purposes.
Yeah, thank you. That was my next question, just the wider picture of this area. You're saying there's no, further on from the zoom of this picture, no sort of housing estates or anything in there?
No, there are some horticultural activities further to the east that are in the adjoining, probably the Lockyer Valley, I would have thought up there, but there's a significant amount of land that's held by state and council for water purposes.
Councillor Carl.
Madam Chair, I'm comfortable with the the application and the recommendations from the officers. Just for future, through you, Mr. General Manager, might we have an indication? I'm of the belief that 5G has not progressed into this area as yet. But might we have an indication on any future reports of these nature around telecommunications facilities, if they are in fact 5G at any time in the future, that would be of interest, I feel, to this council. But as far as the siting of this, I don't see any problems, and most likely at the least they've done a desktop study on the transmission levels, hence the placement of the tower. So I would imagine that everything would be au fait.
Look, I can, we can certainly investigate. I'm not sure what aspect of 5G you're particularly concerned about.
Whether it is 5G technology being employed in future applications that come to council.
Yeah.
More.
Because I'm not sure it would alter the form and style and look of the monopole, which is what we are approving. The actual telecommunications technology itself is controlled totally outside council's control.
I get that.
Yep.
I get that. But as background information, it would be handy to have an appreciation of whether it's part of it or not.
General Manager's made a note of that. 5G he's got written on his paper there. Councillor Carol Taylor?
There has been comments made that we have got 5G here. And and again, it's out of our control. Just asking a question, as this has come to us, I guess this is on TRC area, but Perseverance, it's in, okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
No further questions for Matthew? No? Thank you, Matthew. Well, with that, can I have someone move to reinstate standing orders? Councillor McDonald, Councillor O'Shea, all those in favour? Thank you. So, councillors, the recommendation is that council approve the application for a development permit for material change of use telecommunications facility pursuant to the provisions of Section 60 of the Planning Act 2016 and subject to the conditions listed there. So can I have someone move it? Councillor Carl, Councillor Melissa Taylor, all those in favour? Any against? All those against? Councillor Nancy Summerfield? Would you like your vote recorded, Councillor Summerfield? Yep. Yeah, thank you. It's carried. Thank you. Councillor Taylor, did you vote against that? No. You voted for it, sorry, yes. Yeah. With that, I'll conclude the meeting, 2:53. Thank you. Councillors, I think CEO would like to have a word